Welcome to AwareWolf for you. My name is Jacqui Mancuso.
And I'm Victoria.
And today we're here to talk about a taboo subject. Not so much. It can be.
Shadow work.
It's so scary because shadows are big and scary, but they're not.
And a lot of people don't know what that even is.
Yeah, that's true.
And don't look at their own shadow. And are like, nope, got no problems. I am perfect.
So maybe before you guys listen, pause the video and put in the comments, what is shadow work? What do you think of it? Have you ever done it? Why are we talking about this? It's been like in my awareness a lot lately.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely something we wanted to talk about. And I feel like recently I've kind of dove into shadow work as well. I thought I had before, but now I feel like it's even more. And also, I do want to give some credit to TikTok and their insatiable marketing. Like, they would not quit with this one thing and the marketing for it. But I am happy I got it, so...
What is this? Yeah, what is this thing?
So it's this book, the Shadow Work Journal. Is that what it says? Yeah, the Shadow Work Journal. A guide to integrate and transcend your shadows. So Jacqui is much more good about just doing this on her own. I am not really someone who asks these types of questions of myself. Like, I kind of just... Well, that's true. That's true. I kind of just... I have a very compartmentalizing mind. Like, once it's done, and I am on to the current.
No.
So, it's interesting to have something or someone or whatever kind of force you to ask those questions. So that's why this was helpful for me. But let's talk about what it is.
Yeah. Well, I guess that's actually what I asked my cards today.
Oh, yes.
So,
I had Jacqui pull cards.
She loves
because we
when
love
I
the cards.
pull cards. Vicky's learning tarot right now, so that'll be in the future. You guys will learn about that.
That scary, weird thing that the devil's speak, as some people call it, tarot. Which, the more I learn about it, it's not at all, which is just weird. But anyways.
So, I knew that I wanted to ask about shadow work, and I didn't really know how to ask. And so, so here's just a little tarot tip. It's like sidestepping. I'll just shuffle my cards, and I sit with the energy of what I want to think about, and I wait for a question to appear. So that's how I come up with my questions. And then I know that I was going to do a 3-card spread, so then the words what, how, and why came out.
Nice.
Which I thought was a nice structure. So I asked, what is shadow work? The star reversed. So this is like feeling disconnected from your source. This is feeling like you don't have a grasp on help from the universe. So what is shadow work? I took it as it's how to flip it the right side up, and you have that connection and that divine assistance, I guess. How do you do shadow work? The 8 of Pentacles, this is blood, sweat, and tears. This is detailed work. This is a methodical process going into your work, like dotting your I's, crossing your T's. It's not like something you do once and then, I'm healed forever. Like it is, you have to repeat it. You have to go back into it. And why do we do shadow work? 10 of Wands. This is the energy of like you've been carrying some baggage for a really long time. And it's time to put it down. And it's time to let the universe come in and support you, star.
Yeah.
So I thought that was very interesting because, yes, our shadow can feel like something that we just carry. And we even get a yak to put our shadow on top of so that someone else can carry our baggage for us. But it's not necessarily a bad thing.
I'm starting to think, too, like, when people get into new relationships after having lived a certain period of time, they're like, oh, I have all this baggage, right? I'm coming in with baggage. And it's like, you don't have to come in with baggage. You can deal with it and put it away or put it to the side. It doesn't have to, like, fall on the new person, which, like, if you don't work through it, it generally does.
Right.
Now the baggage is their problem because I didn't look at it. Yeah. Right?
Can be.
Right.
And then that's why relationships can be difficult because you're working through your baggage with the other person and vice versa. And It's a whole thing.
They just have to be willing to do their work, too, and then it works, I feel like. If one person's working on it and the other person's like, no, then that won't work.
Right.
But if both, then you guys can, like, cry together. You know?
So what is shadow work? What is it? What is the shadow?
The deep, dark parts of yourself you don't want to look at.
That's a really good way to put it. It's the shit that you don't want to look at. It's the dark side of yourself.
The times when, like, maybe you were the problem. Let's bring Taylor Swift into this. Hi, hello. That's not even the lyric. I'm the problem, it's me. But yeah, you know, we like to paint ourselves as the victor of every situation when, like, retelling our life story. But that's not always the case, right? Like, we definitely make mistakes, and we go through weird situations.
There are some people, though, who paint themselves as the one to blame all of the time. Not everyone.
The one to blame?
Yeah, there
like
are
victim?
people. Yeah,
Oh, okay.
No, not victim, but, like, it was my fault. Like, there are people that walk around with that Eeyore mentality.
That's true. That's true. But that's also not healthy.
Right.
That's also something you should probably look at, you know?
Yeah, do some shadow work on why you think everything is your fault. Because
Yeah.
I've been there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I get that. I have that too, yeah. But it's kind of, that's it, you know? Like, however you look at those situations that are kind of hard for you to, like, face, that's what you should look at. Be like, there it is, you know? And what can I do with it? And so...
It's hard to look at.
Yeah. So, but, like, that's why this book is kind of nice, because it'll, like, ask specific questions, and it makes it a little less, like, daunting. Like, okay, I went through this really traumatic experience. I would like to heal from it. Now what?
There isn't a lot of information out there about shadow work, I found. So shadow work came into my awareness right around my Saturn return. This was right around 2020, right around my whole awakening. And I think it was like a regular therapist who brought up shadow work. So I was like, oh, I'm going to dive into my shadow. And then I was like, duh, what do I do?
Yeah.
What do I do?
Yeah.
And it was really, I felt like I was on an island. Like, okay, I want to do this, but like, what do I do about it? And yeah, I think Insight Timer was where I started. And I started looking up shadow meditations, and then I was able to link it into inner child and then other things. But I did see that you can do shadow work journaling, and that, yeah, tell me about the journal.
Well, first of all, I would like to say Insight Timer is amazing. She introduced me to it when we first met. I hadn't heard of it prior, and if you haven't heard of it, seriously, go check it out. We're not sponsored.
It's a free meditation app.
Yeah, but like, if you want to do breath work, there's stuff for breath work. If you're into Joe Dispenza and you want to find meditations like what he teaches in his book, you can find that. You can find chakra activation alignment. You can find inner child healing. You can find this and this and this. Like, it's such a vast library, and it's very easy to kind of like, today I want to do X. And you go and you find X. Like, it's really, really nice.
It's all created by like regular people, like
this one.
I'm a teacher on Insight Timer. It's regular Joe Schmoes who put their guided meditations out there, and then like the listeners rank them, so you can see if one's like not so good. It's like a 4.0. Maybe you just know that going into it, but then like if it is good, people will rate it high. So,
but I also love that like
it's like authentic.
I also love that just on a larger societal level. Like, I think I get this question at the hikes all the time, like, oh, are you an instructor? Are you, you know, because I do breath work in the beginning of the class. And it's like, well, no, like, anybody can do this.
Yeah.
You can learn, and then you can teach. Like, you don't have to be a guru that's, like, unattainable, you know, reached enlightenment, like, 20 years ago or something to be listened to. Like, that's just not the world we live in anymore.
You also don't need certifications to be listened to.
And just because you have certifications doesn't mean you know what you're talking about. That, too.
Yeah.
Because some people walk around with all their certs and they know nothing.
Yes. But anyways, Insight Timer's a great
Insight
place.
Timer. Little tangent there. But yeah, Insight Timer, I feel like gets a lot of what you're doing, like different meditations, right?
Yeah.
And different healings. Did you ask me a question about this that I was supposed to answer?
I think I just asked what it's been, how it's been. How far have you gotten into the journal? What kind of stuff has it been asking you about, and how has it been serving you?
Okay. I'm not that far into it.
I just saw, like, so much writing. I'm not that far into it.
I'm not, but, like, I still, like, I have, like, all of this.
Sure.
I'm, like, here.
Okay.
Maybe not even.
I'm going to say, too.
I'm not even there.
There's no race to shadow work. I feel like
still this.
It's something that I'm going to be doing for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
And that, like, excites me.
Yeah, and I don't, like, I do it when I feel called to do it. And it's a lot. It's a lot of, like, emotion. It's a lot of even physical release, which is good.
Yeah.
Physical release is like, good job.
But if you're not ready for it, it's going to take you on a wild ride.
Right.
It can.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, but this is like, for me, I'm very, like, I'm fire, right? She's earth and I'm fire energy-wise. So I'm very much like this. Like, I'll do random things and sporadic and, like, I'm blah, 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 blah. And you're much more, like, grounded. And you're like, I am now going to shadow work for the next month of my life, and I'm going to journal every day of it. Right?
I learned a little bit.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so this helps me stay focused. So it started off with, like, just explanations. There was, like, about 10 different pages of, like, what is shadow work, who created it. Carl Jung was the one that, like, coined the term. There's nice little quotes like, unless you learn to face your own shadows, you will continue to see them in others because the world outside of you is only a reflection of the world inside of you. Carl Jung. And then it gets into fill in the blank kind of questions where it talks about, like, your childhood. So it will pick, like, an emotion. Like, I know it was like, when do you feel tense? And I was like, when do I feel tense? What makes me feel tense? And then it'll ask you, like, fill in the blank questions about, like, when you were a child, you know, what would spark that kind of emotion? And, like, things like that. So, and then as you fill in those blanks, afterwards it'll ask you, like, reflection questions. Like, here, let me pick one. I'll pick the first one.
Look at you bearing all on AwareWolf 444 you.
Oh, I'm not going to read my answers. I'm just going to read what it says. I always feel like I'm the 1. Blank is how I manage to escape. Blank brings me peace. I am so tired of blank and blank, but excited about blank and blank. I want to try to blank so that I can finally blank. For some reason, I always end up blank. I deserve blank and blank. So you can fill that in a fuck ton of ways.
It's like spiritual Mad Libs.
It is. It totally is. Yes. Yes, totally. And then it has reflection questions. So, why am I sometimes seduced into a victim mentality? What systematic self-improvement techniques can I use to replace my victim mentality into a more empowering belief about myself or the situation? What kind of thinking do I need to adopt in order to step outside my limiting beliefs and focus on what excites me? So it makes you think about things that you wouldn't normally think about.
Yeah.
It then gives you how to release stagnant energy, things like drawing or doodling, touching the earth, grounding, doing a gratitude meditation, bathing in the sunlight, taking a shower, going for a walk, etc. So it gives you, like, techniques that you can use outside of just questions.
Practical exercises, yeah.
Yep. It gives you inner child affirmations, things you can, like, say to yourself in the mirror. I'm going to read a few of these and let me know if, like, one sparks you. Because one very specific one sparked me.
Okay.
So, you have time, right? We're not going anywhere. I'm just kidding. I release the feeling of guilt, hurt, and shame. I am protected. I accept every aspect of myself and my personality. I am loved. I am capable of every dream and worthy of every desire. I deserve happiness. I am safe. I am beautiful and I accept myself for who I am. My needs and feelings are valid. I show myself compassion. I am so much more than I thought I could be. My needs and feelings are valid. Oh, they got that one twice. I deserve happiness. A feeling of peace comforts me. I am in control of my feelings. No one can inflict anything on me that I cannot handle. I love myself. I can protect myself. Setting firm boundaries comes easy for me. My energy is limitless.
Oh, there's 3 that hit me.
Yeah?
Yeah, and when we watch the replay, you could probably see my face. I'm
Yeah.
like, whoa! The double one, the one that came up twice.
My needs and feelings are valid.
Yeah, that's something that like, whew. And that could be a signal. If any of these hit you, that could be a signal for like, that's the shadow that is meant to be worked on right now. Let me look at them. No one can inflict anything on me that I cannot handle. Oh my gosh. I can talk about stories for hours.
I feel that one too, yeah.
And then my energy is limitless. I've been feeling a lot lately of like, I'm not doing enough. So.
Oh, I see.
Because I don't have the energy. But yeah. What about you?
For me, I accept every aspect of myself and my personality.
I had a feeling that was going to be yours, yeah.
Man.
Why?
I constantly feel like I need to, like, downplay myself. Like, to not, like, be misunderstood or, I don't know, say something wrong. Like, I've just had so many situations where I'm like, maybe I shouldn't, you know, and then I'll, like, guilt trip myself about what I've said or whatever. So, yeah.
Sure. That's a great example of shadow, because that's clearly a limiting belief, right? You feel like you have to make yourself small to appease others, essentially. But, like, you're a Leo. You are the sun. You're meant to be this big all the time. Yeah.
But then people are like, you're too big.
And that's their problem.
But then it feels like it's like my problem. It's like, oh, well, I should be smaller then. And then I think that transitions into body. Oh, I just had a realization. Well, that's fucked. I keep feeling like I'm getting fatter.
No.
And Mark keeps telling me that I'm not. Mark's my partner, and he keeps telling me that I'm not. But it's this same issue, right? It's like feeling like you're too big, and then needing to be smaller. I mean, it's all gonna. See, we're doing shadow work right now. This is all it. Essentially, okay. So you've said something a few times, and other people that we know have said it too. But essentially, like, if something triggers you, if you, like, get an emotional response, like, you get anxiety, or, like, your heart starts to, like, when I texted that yesterday, like, my heart was beating so fast, I needed to call her and, like, calm down. If you get a reaction like that, that's generally something that you need to, like, work through.
Or it's giving you, it's showing you that it's available to be worked through. I don't want anyone to feel, like, obligated to face a shadow every time. But it's a trigger. Like, this is something that can be healed right now.
Yes, for sure. I like that better. Yeah. I feel like your emotions will kind of guide you. Like, same with, like, when I read these different affirmations, if something kind of irks you, like, that could be something that you could look at if you feel compelled to. And if you don't, that's totally fine, too. I think it comes to you when you're ready.
This is a good segue into the first point that I was going to talk about.
Love it.
So I started with insight timer meditations for shadow work, and there's this one specific inner child one that was really nice. So I did the guided meditation a few times, and then I just kind of took it and ran with it, and like all of my shadow work is intuitive at this point. But it starts with an unwanted emotion. So a lot of my shadow work has been triggered by arguments I get into with my husband, because I have a lot of daddy issues, you know? And whatever, it is what it is. And
I think a lot of people have daddy issues. I think I do too.
Yeah.
I think everybody does in some way, shape, or form.
I feel like everyone does have parent issues. Like,
for sure.
Everyone's parents fuck them up. And it's just what it is. And, like, when I have kids, I'm going to fuck them up.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy
what it is.
to think that, like, we're going to fuck our kids up somehow. And, like, we totally don't mean to.
But it's all part of the soul's path, the soul's journey. So I like to take an unwanted emotion and then sit with it. And this is after I, like, ground myself. So I'll do, like, a whole grounding meditation, whatever works for you. And then I'll come to a place where I'm like, okay, what was that emotion that I was feeling in that moment? And instead of naming the emotion, like, this journal, it's great. This seems wonderful. It seems like it gets you to think about things that you wouldn't think about. But when I do it in the meditative realm, I try to take words out of it and I focus on the energy. So I feel, like, what was I feeling when I was in that argument? Okay, when was a time in the past that I can remember feeling that? And I'll drop back into that. And I'll just, like, put myself in the situation. I'll assess what's going on. And then I take it one step farther back. So, like, when was the first time I can remember feeling this? And when I do it, I take, like, my higher self with me, and I go back and I'm in third person, and I watch my younger self in this situation, and then I'll normally, like, go up to her and, like, open a line of communication with her. It's a gnat, I'm sorry. And I'll open a line of communication with her, and then I'll just, like, it's all intuitive. I just let her talk to me, and then, like, I validate her feelings, and I show her compassion, and then I ask her what she needs, and it's hard to describe because it just happens intuitively. It's like what I would do to a crying child now, and it's all in third person. So that's how I've been doing that with, like, trying to heal unwanted emotions now.
So I love that. You're much more of, like, a visualize a whole story in your head kind of person, from my understanding, from, like, conversations that we've had.
But it's not a visual. It's all just energy.
Sure.
I'm making it up.
I get that.
Okay.
My brain doesn't work like that. So for me, it's much more, like, immediate. And, like, if I'm not so much, like I did an inner child type of meditation yesterday to clear that whole anxiety thing.
Oh, cool.
And then I did a second one that's gonna connect to what you're gonna talk about later. But
we didn't plan any of this. It's just
this flowing. Is how we just flow. We just talk. I think it works way better that way. But for me, like, if I'm not so much, like, visualizing the emotion and connecting to the emotion while, like, remaining completely calm and meditative, like, if there's an emotion that comes up as I'm thinking about something, like, I will literally start convulsing.
Oh, sure. Like, I didn't mean that I'm meditative that whole time. Like, meditative can also mean bawling my eyes out.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm just, like, laying there, like, meanwhile, my dog's like, are you okay? Are you having a seizure?
Do your dogs calm you down, or do they leave? Like, actually, fuck this.
It depends which one. Rari actually came up to me and kept, like, giving me her paw, which was, like, scratching the shit out of me, but I was like, thank you, I love you too. So she was actually trying to calm me down, but, like, Athena will be like, no, I'm not fucking doing that.
This is too much.
Prince kind of goes back and forth. Sometimes he'll be like, oh, what's wrong? And then if I get too intense, he's like, no, I'm out of here. The men can't take that much emotion. But yeah, like, I've tried, like, a lot of the inner child meditations will take you on this kind of visual journey. Like, imagine you're holding your child self or looking at your child self if it's, like, a teenager or whatever. I sometimes struggle with that. Like, I'll have, like, sparks of visuals, but I'm really not having, like, a whole conversation in my head, or not like that. It's more just emotional and, like, physical release. Like, I started coughing.
Oh, cool.
You know what I mean? So it's like, it's a little bit different.
Yeah. Different strokes for different folks.
Yeah.
That's why I'm glad we're doing this, to show two different sides.
Yeah.
And then the other, so I actually wanted to say, too, with the inner child work and in general, shadow work, right? Look at my yin yang. It's back here, yin yang. It's not all supposed to be shadow, dark. Like, you do have this balance of shadow work and light work. And I was talking with someone about this, and they brought that up, like, oh, well, how do you balance with light work? And I was like, oh, fuck, am I doing that? Like, am I just in my shadow? But no, at the end of my meditations, I always try to wrap it up, and then I, like, refill the child needs. And that's what I feel like the light work is. And I've also heard of other people, they'll, like, so this has happened a few times where, like, I'll, like, be with her in a traumatic event, and then, like, you can take the child out of that event and bring them into your current reality and, like, show them, like, these are all the good people that are here. Like, these are all the blessings that you have now. Other people will, like, take their child and put it in their heart, and then they do, like, inner child play dates. And, like, they'll purposefully go, like, ride a bicycle or, like, play hopscotch or, like, do something that their child likes, and, like, the whole time it's an intentional bonding with your inner child.
That's cute.
So that's like a light work.
Yeah, they generally will, like, fill your heart with white light or gold light, cover your child even in gold.
Yeah.
And then, like, see them shining in, like, their epitome, right? So it's not just, like, all bad and then, you know, sucks to suck, you know? Like, it's not like that. It's more just...
Haha, loser.
Yeah, it's not that at all.
I also recently, this is just within the last few weeks, and I had a client do this, and I think she liked it. I'm going to talk to her this afternoon. We'll see. But I found that you can change the ending of a situation also. So, like, you go back and you visualize the situation and, like, address what actually happened, heal the wound, and then, like, visualize a brand new story. I feel like that is time travel. I've talked about this in the past. Inner child work is time travel.
Yeah.
And it's the butterfly effect.
Yeah. I was just thinking that as you were saying that, but in kind of a different way, in the sense that, like, I remember when I was a kid, and I don't know if this probably just me, but I don't know, you tell me. Even when bad shit was going on, even now, okay, because there's a future you now too, right? It's not like, you know, you get to a certain age and then it's like a cutoff. There's always a future you, and they can kind of like come to you in difficult situations and just give you like a feeling of support and a feeling of we're gonna make it through whatever's going on. So I feel like in a way, by doing my stuff now, I'm kind of going to like younger me, and I remember as a younger me being like, oh, it's gonna be okay, like somebody's got me, and it was like me and it's
her higher self. That's my opinion. I think we are our own guardian angels. We're our own guardian angels
amongst the others, because there's others too.
Sure.
You don't think so?
I don't know what I think
with the Michael and the Raphael and all the other. I feel like it's like a council, and they're just like, yeah,
I got you
from all directions.
Sure.
But like you can call on them, but like your higher self is like yours, or maybe they're who knows? It's all energy.
I think it's all you. It's an ocean. You are the ocean, but you are the single drop. But you are all.
But we are all the ocean,
right?
We are all the single drops of the ocean.
Yeah.
I was trying to tell that to one of the guys at our hike last time, and I was like, I wonder where I lost you, or if you're following this fucking weird-ass train of thought. I was like, because we're all sand, and each one of us is a speck of sand.
Yeah. It's fractal. We're all individuals. Like,
Yeah.
I understand that we are separate,
Yeah.
but we're the same.
Yeah.
But we're
Yeah.
separate.
We are consciousness experiencing it in two different bodies.
Yeah.
Experiencing itself in two different bodies, with two different experiences.
But we're the same thing.
Yeah. Because we are consciousness, which is one.
Yeah.
Yeah. But also, like, I would be curious to see the people who, like, work... So I met a lady at the show that I did this past Saturday, and she was like, I work with the angels.
Oh, right.
And there's people that work with the angels. Mm-hmm. And we actually had a old family friend of Mark's, his mom, Hispanic lady, she sees angels.
Cool.
And I wonder what that is. Like... she sees like actual beings, so like she'll tell you like, oh, you know, Archangel Michael is working with you, he's behind your left shoulder right now. Mm-hmm. So I'm curious to see. I understand that the concept's still the same, right? We're all one. We're like, it's still just like fragments, like it's as if you met another person, and that's again a mirror of yourself, right, but this is like in a different energy form.
To me, I feel like it's a metaphor of how the energy wants to express itself to help you grasp what the energy is doing at that time.
Yeah, it's like how we have
different
modalities of healing, and like whichever one speaks to you, that's the one that you do.
But it's all the same thing.
Yeah. Same with religion. Just gonna put that out there. It's all saying the same fucking thing.
Yeah.
This is like the more expansive version of religion. Like, if you want to narrow it down into a box, that's religion. But yeah, it's all the same shit.
Let's get back to shadow work. I feel like that we just went all the way down here, but let's bring it right back in.
No, we're going on tangents today.
I know we can. Okay, I said everything I want to say about inner child healing. Do you have anything else about inner child? It just feels so good because and this is why another reason why I like the meditative state, because when I sit and think about like what happened to me as a child that fucked me up, a lot of my clients will say like, nothing. I had a good childhood. I'm happy with everything. I'm at peace with everything. And that's great. And I'm happy that people had a really good childhood. I know I didn't. But there's still like, to heal trauma, like you didn't have to be severely abused to be traumatized. It's all relative. It's all perspective. Like if you were repeatedly told that you were too much, like you're having too many emotions, or like you should be grateful for what you have, why do you want more? Like those are traumatic to an inner child. So it doesn't need, like you don't need to qualify for shadow work. Everyone has shadows. And the more that you understand your shadow, the more you unlock now.
Yeah. like, my dad once called me a cow, and that has stuck with me for the rest of my life. It wasn't like he, like,
one time
hit me and was like, you're a cow, you know? Like, he just said you're, you know? And it doesn't have to be huge for it to make an impact. It doesn't have to be, like, the loss of, you know, my whole life went down the drain, and now I finally have enough to heal. We all have something. And it's no one's fault, either. Like, everyone's just trying to do the best they can. And, like, we literally called this in. Like, we chose to be here to go through this, so it's like, let's do that. It's a fucked up thing to think about.
So now that we're talking about shadows with other people, interactions with other people, cord cutting is another way to do shadow work.
You love your cord cutting.
Okay, so I went through a phase.
She was like cord cutting like almost every other day.
It was a
So I cut another person out of my life, and then I cut another one out of my life.
That's not what it means.
No, I know.
That's not what it means. So cord cutting is an energetic separation of energy. Because you can have energy tied to a person. You can have energy tied to a situation. You can even have energy tied to a previous version of yourself. If you're holding guilt for something that you did, like, you can cut the cord between you and that previous self. So the way that I do cord cutting is, how do you know who to cut a cord with? If there's someone that you can't stop thinking about, if there's someone that you feel like is just lingering in your field, like won't go away, if you feel like resentment towards someone, you can cut a cord with that version of them. I've done a lot of cord cuttings with my dad, and I've also done cord cuttings with other people. There was like a week where I'd have a dream, and someone would show up, and then I'd wake up and be like, that's who I'm cutting my cord with today. And it was really, some of them were like, I did a cord cutting with a manager that I had for like 6 months. Like, why is this person in my field? And then I cut the cord, and then I let go of a lot of guilt from that job and the way that I acted in that job. Whatever. But the cord cuttings that I do my whole grounding thing, and I call in my higher self, and then I visualize myself sitting across from this other person, face to face, having a conversation. And then I give myself the opportunity to express my emotions. Like, hey, you fucked up, right? Like, and it made me feel this way, and I'm hurt in this way, and this is how it's been expressing itself in my life, and it's all just intuitive. I just, like, word vomit onto them, and it feels good to get it out. And then I tune on my compassion ears, because I've already gotten my stuff out, so then I hear them. What's your side? Tell me your side. And then we have, like, a really open conversation. And then there's usually something that we've been unintentionally holding of each other's. So then I'll look to see where the cord is. It's not always at your heart. Sometimes it's at your solar plexus. Sometimes it's been attached to, like, my shoulder, my knee. Like, it's always a random place. And then it might be somewhere different on them. And there's usually, like, maybe I've been holding some of their courage because I needed it at that time. And maybe they've been holding some of my fire because they needed it. So we, like, re-exchange and give back to sender. And then I'll visualize something that's going to cut the cord. It's different every time. And then I'll cut the cord. I watch the energy return to each of us. And then sometimes the person disappears instantly. Sometimes they need to come into the violet flame with me. It's all just intuitive. And then there's my light work for the cord cutting. I'll ignite the violet flame, and it transmutes and burns away all the stuff that's not serving us. And then, yeah. I want to hear about your cord cutting. And then I do want to tell a story about one that I just did a little while ago, where I was bawling for like 10 minutes.
Yeah. As you were explaining that, one thing that kind of came up for me was, I feel like a lot of times we have people and situations, and I know for me personally, this was very much the situation that I had, and the reason I did one of these last night. We didn't plan this either. I didn't, like, do a cord cutting because she was going to talk about it. Like, this is just two separate.
Just happened.
Yeah. A lot of times we have situations with people where you never have a resolution, right? And you always feel like you want to see them again or talk to them again to, like, get closure or to get, like, a final done, right? And, like, you never get it. And even if you do, it doesn't go how you would want it to. So this is kind of a way for you to do that without them. Like, do it for you. Yeah, because we hold on to energy physically. And if you are constantly ruminating about the same energy, like this issue that went on, and your brain is just like over and over replaying it, it gets stored in your body. And eventually that turns into disease. Like, that's where issues come from. So, like, you need to get this stuff out, even a little bit. Like, a little bit is better than nothing at all.
Yeah.
And it allows you to change your thought patterns and allows you to, like, get that closure, even if you don't get it with them, like, physically. So, yeah.
You get to rewrite the story. That's what you're doing. You're energetically rewriting the story.
Yeah, like, you get to have that closure, even though you didn't for real. And then you might after. Who knows? But, so, yeah, I ended up doing one yesterday. It was a forgiveness meditation and a cord cutting.
Cool.
And, yeah, I feel like, so I had a friend, and we kind of stopped talking about 2 years ago. We were friends for like 17 years prior, and we like talked yesterday for the first time, very briefly. So I was just like, there was just a lot of emotion with this, and there was a lot of like, things never got settled. Like, we never had that closing conversation, which is the whole reason our whole friendship broke up. Like, we just ended up texting each other a bunch of really mean things. And that's literally where it stayed. And, like, Mark, again, my partner, like, is like, it was the stupidest shit I've ever seen. And I'm like, yeah, no, we both know it's the stupidest shit we've ever seen. But, like, it was just a lot of emotion, and it never got resolved. So I needed to get... when I decided to text her, I started having, like, really a lot of anxiety. And I was like, I need to get this out. Like, obviously there's something in my heart still that feels a lot of pain with this situation, so I need to get it out. So anyways, I started doing this meditation, and literally within, like, the first few minutes, I started, like, bawling my eyes out. And I was just like... and I think it came from just, like, feeling her pain in the situation, because I was so, like, harped on my pain and, like, my side of it, and the fact that, like, I didn't get heard, and that was, like, where it all came from. And so for, like, not necessarily the first time, but, like, I don't know, like, I really just felt the other side of it, and I was like, well, fuck, like, that's not nice either. So I was able to say what I didn't get to say to her, apologize for my part of it, and then, like, release it. And then I started coughing, and, you know, you release things in different ways. But it was, like, getting out of my body. And then eventually, like, my heart and chest just felt lighter and, like, calmer. And it's not going to be like, okay, now I'm a whole new person, you know, and now I'm healed, and this is it. But each one of those, like, little moments allow you to feel freer.
Mm-hmm. It's a work in progress. It's a methodical process. It's not like one and done, I'm healed forever. Like, who knows, you might still find in a year or two another layer of that relationship that needs to be healed, you know?
And I think if we are in the human experience, we have healing to be done.
Yeah.
Till the end.
That's why we're here.
Once it's over, you're on to whatever's next.
Mm-hmm. I love it.
Yeah.
I like that you were able to feel your role in the breakup, because it's never, and that's something that's been coming up a lot for me too. It's not always just the other person is a bad person. Like, it takes two to tango. And yeah, we don't want to look at our faults in things.
Yeah.
But I just want to tell this quickly. There's a short story on my TikTok about it, but I did a cord cutting with my dad, and this came up because, like, this was like a weird turn of events. Like, I was feeling guilty for not working enough, and then I couldn't ask for help. Like, I was having trouble asking for help, and then I was like, why can't I ask for help? And I was like, oh, it's because I couldn't rely on my dad when he was depressed. And then I was like, well, what's that all about? And then it turned into this, like, abandonment wound healing thing. And, you know, it started with journaling, and then it just didn't feel complete. So I went into a cord cutting with him. But essentially what happened is we were doing the cord cutting, and I was going back through the day that we stopped talking, because I stopped talking to my dad a year before he died. And the last day that we talked, I picked him up from the train station because of a situation that he put himself in, and I was like rescuing him. And he didn't say thank you for me picking him up. And then I was like, well, fuck this is stupid. So then in the meditation, instead of meeting him with anger when I picked him up, like waiting for a thank you, I met him with compassion, like, oh, that must have been a really shitty situation that like you need to be rescued from. Tell me about it. And we were just talking, and then he said, or like he was just like describing how this person just abandoned him, and I was like, oh, that must feel like you were abandoned. And then it hit me that like I abandoned him when he was healing from being abandoned. And then in my 3D, I was like, oh, I cried for a solid, like, I don't know, 2-3 minutes. But that was like seeing my role in the situation after all these years. It's been very like, he hurt me, he was a bad dad, and it was just like, oh fuck. But then I sat with that, and now I understand what Bob was talking about, sitting with the emotion and just sitting with it and feeling it. And I felt the guilt, and I felt like, oh no, I did this, I'm sorry. And then once I felt it, it was gone, and it lifted. And then there was like such beauty on the other side of that. And my dad, like the higher self of my dad, was like, congratulations, you've just completed a karmic lesson. And I was like, wow. But that's why I love the shadow, because there's so much beauty under it. Yeah. And you just need to take the time to be with it. Yeah. And there's so many gems down there.
For sure. And I feel like, the monster gets bigger and scarier till he comes out in the light.
And then he's just big.
And then it's like, hey. Hey, to see you. It's okay. Yeah. You're going to be okay. And then he's not scared anymore.
That's really what it is.
Yeah. Yeah, the abandonment thing, I feel like, is the foundation for a lot of issues. Like, I can think of a few different moments, like with my family, with friends. People internally are like group creatures, right? We are not meant to be alone. Mm-hmm. So we have this like internal fear of being alone. And if we get left in one way or another, we have this like pain inside. But we also weirdly project that possibility onto people prior to it even happening. So there's this just like constant like abandonment wound. Even if you don't think you have it, you probably do. You just probably do. Like, I think it's inherent.
Yeah.
Like, I know that, like, it always, it's like a connection for a lot of different things. And then if you're able to, like, feel compassion towards another person's abandonment wound, that's where the healing comes in.
And then you're not so afraid of it.
And you're not, like, upset anymore. You're like, oh, well, I get that. I would feel that too. Mm-hmm. Shit. Mm-hmm. My bad. And then you can like heal that and be friends again, and we can all be kumbaya once again.
Yeah, cord cutting doesn't mean cutting the person out of your life. Like, you can do a cord cutting with someone who's prevalent in your day-to-day life. It just cuts the energy. It just cuts the weird vibes. Mm-hmm. And even if the other person doesn't do any work, like, everything is energy. So being able to go into your own meditative state with your higher self and viewing the person through a higher lens, that's going to translate into the material world. And, like, you're going to be able to see them lighter.
They might not know, but their soul will know that something shifted. So, like, they may on a subconscious level just be like, oh, I kind of feel better about that. Why do I feel better about that? I don't know. Mm-hmm.
You can also heal generational trauma with shadow work. This is something that, oh my gosh, and it's fractal. Everything.
Do they still have to be alive? Or no, I'm sorry. Do they have to be dead, or can they still be alive?
They can still be alive. You can heal anything. Energy is your playground. Yeah. Use good intention. But so that saying, one of my favorite sayings is, your healing is my healing. Mm-hmm. And literally, you can heal anything and the whole thing starts to heal. So even by working on yourself, you are healing generational trauma because you're healing automatic wounds that like you may have inherited from your family line. If it feels intuitive, you can go back and like put yourself in your family line and like heal for them. And that will actually heal the energy 7 generations forward and 7 generations back. Like you're so powerful. I just like, I got so excited about that. I want to let people know that I do have one cord cutting meditation that's recorded on my YouTube channel. I'll put the link below the show notes. So there's cord cutting from me if you want that.
No inner child from you?
I don't think I have one out. Oh, on my Insight timer, which the link is below for my Insight timer, there is a guided meditation on there called like Releasing Guilt and Regret. And it's a past self-healing. I don't know if it's necessarily inner child, but it's healing a time that you feel regretful about. That's there. And then I don't have a deadline for this, but my next course that I'm going to make on Insight Timer is all about shadow work. And it's going to be education and meditations all wrapped up in one. So that's going to start once I come back from my Vipassana retreat. So maybe early 2024 is when that'll come out. We'll see.
Nice. I wanted to ask you one more thing. Did you have something else you wanted to touch on?
I don't think so.
Cool. What's your thought on mirror gazing?
Staring at yourself in the mirr?
Mm-hmm. Have you done it? Is
Only
it
on
weird?
Mushrooms.
You and I tried to do it once.
But that's soul gazing.
That was
That's different. That's gazing into someone else's eyes. Okay, let me tell that story real quick. So I learned about this thing called soul gazing, and I've done it with my husband like once or twice, and he's not very slow. He's extremely ADHD, like has to be moving around every 2 seconds. And I got him for a minute to gaze into my eyes without like looking around, and it was magical. And we like fell in love all over again. So then we were at my retreat, and this is when we were like, oh my God, we're like soul sisters. Like, wow. And so I threw it out there. I was like, do you want to do soul gazing? And so we sat cross-legged, knee to knee, and I feel like we were holding hands. We have to have been holding hands.
Probably.
And we started gazing into each other's eyes, and we maybe got like 10 seconds in before we were interrupted by people. But like you said it out loud, and I was thinking the same thing, that we like look alien.
Yeah.
When we like sit and gaze.
Mm-hmm.
But the mirror thing, you know, I really do like to do that when I'm tripping, because I look at myself and I'm like, this is just made up. This is just, what is this? Like, why did I pick this to be in now? But yes, I've done it. Sober also.
And what's your experience sober?
I just like looking at my eyes. They just look like magical and crystally and wet and like life. Why?
So you generally have like, so you're looking at yourself, and what like thoughts come up? Like good things come up?
Oh, well, I'm talking like current Jacqui. I don't know, back in the day when I
current Jacqui.
healed.
Sure, current Jacqui. So
yeah, I'm the shit.
You're just like,
I'm awesome.
I love this, I love that, I love this, I love that.
Yeah, and
You're just like giving yourself a compliment list.
Well, I've done it when I see flaws, and I'm like, oh, that's cute. Like, good job. You know. Oh, look at your little crow's feet. You're wise now. Yeah. Why?
Yeah, it's different for me.
You're getting there.
Yeah. It's like,
what's it like?
I'm a very weird looking person in general.
We all are. Sit and stare at someone that you're close with in their eyes. We all look weird.
Yeah.
Weirdo.
Freak. Yeah, but it's weird. For me, like, it's, like, I've done it, and I've had good experiences, and then I've done it, and I've had, like, the worst experiences. And you know what it is? I'm gonna bring it back to my fucking favorite subject of the time. It's all down to hormones. Oh. Your hormones shift how you see yourself. Like, if I look at myself during my high estrogen time, like that first 2 weeks of your menstrual cycle, beauty queen. most beautiful person I've ever seen.
That's what I'm in right now. How do I look, guys? I feel like I got flat ass hair.
If you look during your luteal phase, so like leading up to your
The start of
period,
your cycle?
and no, like the end of your cycle, the second half, the second 2 weeks, you just look uglier and uglier and uglier. Like, it's the weirdest thing. And you look the exact same. Like, you ask your partner and you're like, do I look like, you know, like a swamp creature? And they're like, you look the same. So yeah, I was trying to do it yesterday and I was like, I'm just picking myself apart. This is not good in any way, because it's the next thing that you're supposed to do.
Oh.
And I was
Mirror
like, I can't
gazing.
do this right now.
Oh.
So yeah, I just thought I'd ask. I was like, is it just me?
No, it's not just you. I've assigned that as homework for plenty of people. Like, say these affirmations to yourself in the mirror. And for a lot of people, it's really weird to look at yourself in the eyes and say, like, I love you. You're the best. You're perfect just the way you are. Try it. Try looking in the mirror, gazing in your eyes, and just saying, I love you. And see
Over and over
what
again.
comes out. Yeah, for 1 minute. Even 30 seconds.
It's weird as you do it. Like, the first one is okay, and then you keep doing it, and you're like, like, you know, you're like, you shy away from it, and then you're like, but yeah, I do love you, you know, like, it's a whole it's a whole journey through it, which is interesting.
I've done a lot of that. I think that that's why I'm so comfortable with it now. I went through a phase where I would do, it was like a few weeks, and I would do mirror work talking about what makes me unique. So every day I would add one thing to my list of what I do that's unique, and then I would repeat the list to myself, and then the next week, like every Sunday, I would restart the list, and I would do the whole, and I would repeat it to myself every day.
Interesting.
Yeah, I just like desensitized myself from the mirror stuff.
Yeah. Did you get, like, criticized a lot growing up?
Oh yeah, I'm the baby.
Oh, so you got, like, 10 siblings criticizing you?
Yeah. Not even criticizing me, but always like giving me advice about how I could do it better. Because they loved me, but then I was just like, shut up.
Yeah.
I know, I'm fine. But yeah.
Cool. That's it.
And we're done.
That's the episode. What did we talk about? Let's recap it real quick.
We talked about what shadow work is, how to do it. We didn't really talk about why. I guess.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah?
Yeah.
What have you gotten so far out of shadow work? Like, have you seen, how long have you been writing in the journal, and like, what have you seen?
It's only been a few weeks. I guess I didn't mention, like, for me to work, like, you do it in meditation, you like visualize things. For me, I do it through journaling. Mm-hmm. Like, I'll write it down, and as I'm writing down, I'll like go through the situation. I feel better. Like, just overall, I feel a lot better in my head. And I feel like I tend to ruminate on situations that I feel like guilt about. And by working through those situations, I can let them go. And then I feel healthier. And I feel like in the long run, it just amounts to just a healthier me altogether. I feel like I'm able to deal with problems a little bit better and like not get triggered. Mm-hmm. on things that used to trigger me. Mm-hmm. And that's definitely a journey too. It's not like you heal it once and then it's like you're good for the rest of your life. But yeah, I just feel like I'm gaining wisdom and understanding, and I'm less like easily swayed, which I feel like is a characteristic of a younger person, right? The older you get, the less you have to say and the less you have to prove that you know. Like, we talked about this a little bit ago. And, like, show people that you're gonna do it and you got it and you're the best, you know? Like, you just don't care anymore. Like, you think I'm a piece of shit? Cool.
Yeah, that's on you.
I'm not. And I know that. And that's all that matters.
It's all love. So we talked about what is it? It's looking at the darkness that you don't necessarily want to look at. How do you do it? There's plenty of ways out there. If you want help, hit me up. I do this for a living. And then why is just to feel good and have a happy life. And fulfilling, because it's not about being happy all the time. Like, shadow work can be really tough. It can be very teary. Laughter is also a release. I wanted to bring that up. It's not always crying and coughing and farting and burping. You can laugh and get stuff out that way too. Any last words?
I feel like we all come here to learn, and some people don't learn, and that's their journey. But if your journey is to learn, this is a good way to do that. And as much as I don't want to give TikTok credit, this is a good book. That's all I'm going to say on that.
Cool. You recommend it? 10 out of 10?
So far, I recommend it. If you're a person like me and you don't think about this stuff, it gives you like a good like guide to follow, essentially, and just like gets you thinking about that stuff, and then you can kind of take it from there and leave the book if you want. So I think that's nice.
Yeah, and don't force yourself into shadow work either, because you're not going to do anyone a favor if you're doing it out of obligation. Like, follow your excitement.
Yeah, if your response to this episode's like, then not time.
Yeah, don't do
if
it.
you're like, oh, what is that? Then go for it. Right?
Yeah.
Am I going through my Saturn return right now? Do you remember?
You're on the tail end of it. You're coming out of it.
Oh.
Yeah.
So maybe if we're going through your Saturn return, it seems to be the shadow space.
If you're around 28 to 30 years old, and that all depends on a whole bunch of other stuff. You could do shadow work at any time.
Yeah, but that's like when you started yours,
yeah.
And it's interesting that I'm kind of getting deeper into it. I wonder if there's some kind of correlation there.
Could be.
Yeah. Anyways.
Thank you for listening. Thank you for liking this and sharing it and subscribing to all our channels. And that's it.
See you next time.
Bye.